Hey everyone, it's Emma here, and welcome. I wanted to share something with you today. Something that made me realize just how much we rely on our little pocket computers. You know, our phones? Well, you will not believe what happened. I forgot mine at home today. Honestly, it felt so strange, almost like I was missing a limb. The house was quiet as I left, and I didn't notice anything amiss until I reached the coffee shop and instinctively reached for it, only to find empty space. That familiar weight, the cool metal against my fingertips, it was gone. The whole day felt just a little bit off. A gentle wave of disconnection washed over me, a quiet hum of unease. It was a surprisingly soothing experience in a way, like a mini digital detox. I was more present, more aware of my surroundings. And you know what? It made me think. It made me think about our relationship with technology. So, let's begin our exciting journey of English improvement together with this story of a phone-less day. New videos are released daily focusing on English speaking and listening skills to help you improve and enjoy your learning journey. Okay, so, you know how sometimes you just need a night out? A proper escape, a change of scenery? Well, that's exactly how I was feeling last week. Work had been intense. Like, living on coffee and sheer willpower intense. So, I decided to treat myself to a night at the local theater. The Grand Majestic. It's this beautiful old place, kind of faded glory, you know? Velvet seats, chipped paint, the whole shebang. It's not exactly Broadway, but it has its charm. Now, I'm not a huge theater buff or anything, but there was this play showing, The Clockmaker's Daughter. It sounded intriguing, a bit mysterious. Plus, who doesn't love a good clockmaker story, right? Okay, maybe that's just me. Anyway, I booked my ticket online. Best seat in the house, balcony, slightly off-center. Perfect for people watching, which is half the fun, let's be honest. The day of the show finally arrived, and I was buzzing with anticipation. I even put on a nice dress. I mean, when's the last time I wore something other than yoga pants and a hoodie? It felt celebratory, like I was reclaiming some small part of my pre-pandemic life, the part that enjoyed getting dressed up and doing things. I got to the theater a bit early, just to soak in the atmosphere. The lobby was a hive of activity. People chattering, the rustle of programs, the faint smell of popcorn. That slightly burnt, buttery smell that's so specific to theaters. It's like stepping back in time, you know? No giant screens blaring trailers, just hushed anticipation and that unique theatrical hum. I wandered around, admiring the old posters framed on the walls. Plays from decades past, starring actors I'd never heard of, but their faces, these glamorous black and white headshots, spoke of a different era. An era of elegance, maybe? Or maybe I'm just romanticizing it. Finally, the doors to the auditorium opened. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. Oh, the grandeur. Okay, it's a little faded, like I said, but the ornate carvings on the balconies, the heavy crimson curtains, the twinkling chandeliers, it's magical. Even with the chipped paint, it still whispers of a time when going to the theater was a real event. I found my seat and settled in, clutching my program like a lifeline. The theater gradually filled up, a fascinating mix of people. Elderly couples holding hands, groups of friends giggling, a few lone wolves like myself. I eavesdropped on snippets of conversations, trying to guess their stories, their reasons for being there. It's a little game I play, you know? Creating narratives in my head. The lights dimmed. A hush fell over the audience. A single spotlight illuminated the stage. And then, magic. The play was mesmerizing. It wasn't what I expected at all. I thought it would be this quaint, whimsical story about a clockmaker and his daughter, but it was so much more. It was about time, loss, and the delicate balance between destiny and free will. Heavy stuff, right? But so beautifully told. The actors were phenomenal. They completely embodied their characters, their voices echoing through the theater, filled with emotion. There was this one scene, where the clockmaker's daughter confronts her father about a secret he's been keeping. Oh, the tension in that room. You could practically feel it, crackling in the air. I held my breath, my heart pounding in my chest. And the set design, so clever and intricate. They used these giant clock gears that moved and shifted throughout the play, symbolizing the passage of time. And the lighting, subtle shifts in color and intensity, creating this almost dreamlike atmosphere. It was all so deliberate, so purposeful. It made me realize how much thought and effort goes into creating a theatrical experience. It's not just about the words, it's about the entire world they build on that stage. But you know what the best part was? It wasn't just the play itself. It was the shared experience. The collective gasp of the audience during a particularly dramatic moment. The ripple of laughter during a comedic scene. The silence, thick with emotion, at the end of the play. It was like we were all connected, all experiencing this story together. And that, I think, is the real magic of theater. It brings people together. It creates a sense of community. Of course, no evening is perfect, right? Remember how I said I was people watching? Well, there was this guy sitting a few rows in front of me, and he kept checking his phone. The bright light of his screen was so distracting. I wanted to tell him to put it away, but I chickened out. You know how it is. Confrontation avoidance at its finest. But seriously, who goes to the theater to check their phone? It's like going to a concert and scrolling through Instagram the whole time. What's the point? Anyway, after the play ended, I just sat there for a few minutes, letting it all sink in. I felt different, refreshed, somehow, like my mind had been cleansed. And I realized something. It wasn't just about escaping from the stress of work. It was about connecting with something bigger than myself. Connecting with art, with emotion, with other human beings. And in a world that feels increasingly disconnected, that's a pretty powerful thing. Walking out of the theater, the cool night air felt invigorating. The city lights seemed brighter, more vibrant. Even the sounds of traffic seemed less jarring. I felt like I was seeing the world with new eyes, you know? Like I had been reminded of the beauty and wonder that exists all around us, if we just take the time to notice it. So, yeah, my night at the local theater. It wasn't just a night out. It was an experience. A reminder of the power of storytelling, the magic of shared experience, and the importance of finding joy in the simple things. And who knows, maybe next time I'll even brave a conversation with the phone-obsessed guy in the front row. Just kidding, mostly. But seriously, put your phones away, people. Let's live in the moment, at least for a little while. You know what I mean. Okay. So, you know how learning to drive is supposed to be this big milestone of independence, right? Like, Suddenly you have the freedom of the open road, the wind in your hair. Yeah, not so much for me. My driving journey, well, let's just say it was memorable. It all started with my dad's ancient station wagon, affectionately nicknamed the Beast. This thing was huge, a land yacht practically, with more dents than I had freckles. The upholstery smelled like old tennis balls and that weird air freshener your grandma uses. You know, the pine-scented one? And the steering wheel? Oh, the steering wheel. It was massive and thin, like trying to steer a pizza dough. My dad, bless his heart, was convinced he was the perfect driving instructor. Just feel the car, he'd say, which is super helpful advice, isn't it? Feel the car. What does that even mean? I mean, I felt the car all right. I felt its lurching, its groaning, its desperate plea to be put out of its misery. My first lesson was in an empty parking lot on a Sunday morning. I adjusted the mirrors, gripped the wheel like I was holding onto a life raft in a hurricane, and put the car in drive. The Beast lurched forward with a shudder, like a startled walrus. I slammed on the brakes. My dad, who was clutching the dashboard with a death grip, let out a small yelp. "Smoothly, dear, smoothly," he said, his voice a little higher pitched than usual. "Smoothly. Right. So, attempt number 2. This time, I eased my foot onto the gas pedal. The Beast responded by accelerating like a rocket, then stalling with a dramatic cough. We lurched forward again. Brake. Lurch. Stall. Repeat. It felt like I was learning to drive a kangaroo, not a car. We spent the next few hours, which felt like days, navigating that parking lot. I mastered the art of the three-point turn, eventually, but parallel parking? Forget it. I could park perpendicularly, diagonally, even upside down, apparently, but parallel? It was like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded while riding a unicycle. Then came the dreaded day, driving on actual roads. I was so nervous I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. My palms were sweaty, knees weak, arms were heavy. Okay, maybe not spaghetti, but definitely shaky. My dad, sensing my terror, tried to be encouraging. "Just pretend you're playing a video game," he said. Right, because maneuvering a 2-ton metal box through traffic is exactly like playing Mario Kart. Guess what happened next? A squirrel. A tiny, fluffy, suicidal squirrel darted out in front of us. I screamed, slammed on the brakes, and swerved to avoid it. The Beast, never one to miss an opportunity for drama, honked its horn in protest. My dad, whose soul had momentarily left his body, muttered something about squirrels and insurance premiums. The squirrel, meanwhile, scampered off, probably laughing hysterically. The rest of the lesson was a blur of near misses, frantic apologies, and my dad's increasingly strained attempts at optimism. I stalled at a green light, twice, almost took out a mailbox, and drove so slowly that the cars behind me started forming a conga line. By the time we got home, I was convinced I was a menace to society, and my dad looked like he needed a stiff drink. But you know what? I didn't give up. I kept practicing, week after week, enduring my dad's helpful advice and the Beast's temperamental outbursts. I, slowly, painstakingly, started to get the hang of it. The lurching became less violent, the stalling less frequent. I even managed to parallel park once. It took me 20 minutes and a small miracle, but I did it. Then came the day of the driving test. I was a nervous wreck, but I was also determined. I'd visualized the route a million times, practiced every maneuver, and bribed the car gods with a bag of gummy bears. Don't judge. The examiner was a stern-looking woman with a clipboard and a no-nonsense expression. She didn't smile, she didn't speak, she just pointed and I drove. I navigated the streets, executed the dreaded parallel park, perfectly, I might add, and even managed to avoid hitting any squirrels. And then, it happened. She turned to me, a flicker of a smile on her lips, and said those magical words. You've passed. I think I actually squealed. I wanted to hug her, hug the car, hug the random stranger on the sidewalk. I had done it. I was officially a licensed driver. Driving home, in the Beast, no less, felt different. It wasn't just a hunk of metal anymore, it was my hunk of metal. I felt a surge of pride, of accomplishment, of pure, unadulterated freedom. The road stretched out before me, full of possibilities. Okay, so maybe the Beast still smelled like old tennis balls and the steering wheel was still the size of a small planet, but I didn't care. I was driving, and I was free. Looking back, the whole learning to drive experience was a bit of a comedy of errors, a chaotic mix of fear, frustration, and the occasional burst of near genius. But you know what I mean? It's one of those experiences that you look back on and laugh, even though at the time you were pretty sure you were going to die. It taught me patience, perseverance, and the importance of having a good supply of gummy bears on hand at all times. And hey, at least I have a good story to tell, right? Hey everyone, learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, but remember, even the highest peak is reachable one step at a time. Make your today better, so you can be proud of your tomorrow. Think about it. Every single word you learn, every conversation you attempt, it's all building towards a future where you speak English fluently and confidently. That feeling of accomplishment tomorrow? It starts with the effort you put in today. You've got this. You will not believe what I discovered. Such a simple yet effective speaking practice. Have you ever tried watching movies and repeating lines? Seriously, it's a game changer. Pick a scene you love, listen carefully, and then try to mimic the actor's intonation and pronunciation. You can even do this while cooking dinner or going for a walk. It's that easy to fit into your day. It's fun, it's practical, and it really helps you get comfortable with natural English speech. Honestly, it felt like magic when I first started doing this. And you know what? I totally understand the struggle of understanding English perfectly, but then freezing up when it's our turn to speak. Something as simple as handling phone calls professionally can feel daunting. That nervous flutter in your stomach when the phone rings, the worry about saying the wrong thing, I've been there. But remember, every conversation is a learning opportunity. Speaking of overcoming those hesitant moments, I remember once I had to make a really important call in English, and my heart was pounding. It made me think, how do you overcome hesitation while speaking? I'd love to hear your tips and tricks. Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and build our confidence together. So, you want to hear about my hiking experiences, huh? Well, grab a cup of something warm. Settle in, because I've got a few tales to tell. Where to even begin? I guess I'll start with the one that really kicked off my whole love affair with the trails. It was a few years back. I was feeling stuck, you know? Like I was going through the motions of life, but not really living. A friend, bless her heart, suggested hiking. Now, I wasn't exactly what you'd call outdoorsy. My idea of roughing it was a hotel room without room service. But something about the idea of just walking, getting away from it all, appealed to me. So, there I was, bright and early one Saturday morning, standing at the base of Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire. It's not Everest, I know, but for a newbie like me, it might as well have been. I was decked out in brand new hiking boots, still stiff, might I add, a brightly colored backpack filled with granola bars and way too much water, and an optimistic spirit that I suspected wouldn't last long. The first hour or so was pleasant enough. The trail was relatively flat, winding through a cool, shady forest. The air was crisp and clean, scented with pine needles and damp earth. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, dappling the path ahead. I could hear the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves under my feet. It was peaceful, truly. I even started thinking, hey, this hiking thing isn't so bad. Famous last words, right? The higher I climbed, the steeper the trail became. The nice, even path gave way to rocky terrain, roots snaking across the ground like mischievous little tripwires. Remember those stiff new boots I mentioned? Yeah, they weren't making friends with my ankles. My optimistic spirit started to wane, replaced by a growing sense of, well, let's just say I was questioning my life choices. There were moments of sheer panic, let me tell you. Like the time I slipped on a loose rock and nearly tumbled down a small ravine. I grabbed onto a tree root just in the nick of time, my heart hammering in my chest like a trapped bird. Or the time I encountered a giant spider web strung across the trail, walked right into it, and spent the next 5 minutes frantically brushing imaginary spiders off my face. Not my finest moment. But you know what? Even with the near-death experiences and the 8-legged creepy crawlies, there was something exhilarating about it all. Pushing myself physically, facing my fears, conquering those rocky inclines. It was a challenge, and I was determined to meet it. Then came the false summits. Oh, the false summits. You think you're almost there, you've pushed yourself to the limit, you can practically taste victory. And then you round a bend and realize there's another, even higher peak ahead. It's like the universe is playing a cruel joke on you. I think I muttered a few choice words under my breath, let's just say that. But finally, after what felt like an eternity, I reached the summit. And oh, my goodness, the view. It was breathtaking. Mountains stretched out as far as the eye could see, a tapestry of green and blue under a vast, cerulean sky. The wind whipped around me, carrying the scent of pine and the faint, distant sound of, was that a train whistle? I don't know, but it added to the magic of the moment. I sat there for a long time, just soaking it all in. The exhaustion, the aches and pains, the near panic attacks, it all faded away, replaced by a sense of profound peace and accomplishment. I had done it. I had conquered Mount Monadnock. And honestly, I felt like I could conquer anything. The descent was interesting. My knees were screaming, my toes were jammed into the front of my boots, and I'm pretty sure I tripped at least a dozen times. But I was smiling. The whole way down, I was smiling. That first hike, as challenging as it was, ignited something in me. It showed me the beauty and power of nature, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of pushing beyond my comfort zone. It wasn't just about conquering a mountain, it was about conquering myself. Since then, I've been on countless hikes, each one a unique and memorable experience. I've learned a lot along the way, too. Like, always break in your hiking boots before hitting the trail. Trust me on this one. Pack light, but pack smart. Bring plenty of water and snacks. And don't underestimate the power of a good hiking stick. It's your best friend on those steep inclines and descents. There have been other memorable hikes, of course. The time I got caught in a sudden downpour in the White Mountains and had to hike back down a slippery, muddy trail, soaked to the bone and shivering. Or the time I accidentally wandered off trail in Acadia National Park and ended up bushwhacking through dense undergrowth for an hour before finding my way back. Let's just say I learned the importance of a map and compass the hard way. But there have also been moments of pure magic. Sunrise hikes where the world is painted in hues of pink and gold. Quiet walks through snow-covered forests. The only sound the crunch of my boots on the crisp, white snow. Discovering hidden waterfalls tucked away in secluded canyons. Sharing a thermos of hot chocolate with friends at the top of a mountain. The wind whipping around us and the view stretching out before us like a dream. You see, hiking isn't just about the physical act of putting one foot in front of the other. It's about connecting with nature, with yourself, with something larger than yourself. It's about challenging yourself, pushing your limits, and discovering the strength you never knew you had. It's about finding peace and solitude in the wilderness, away from the noise and distractions of everyday life. It's about the fresh air in your lungs, the sun on your face, the wind in your hair. It's about the stories you collect along the way, the memories you make, the friendships you forge. So yeah, I guess you could say I've developed a bit of a passion for hiking. It's more than just a hobby, it's a way of life. It's a reminder that even when life feels overwhelming, there's always a trail waiting to be explored, a mountain waiting to be climbed, a view waiting to take your breath away. And honestly, there's nothing quite like it. So, are you thinking of giving it a try? Because, I know a few good trails. We could go sometime, if you'd like. Just let me know. Okay, so grab a cuppa, settle in, because this story, it's a saga. It's not epic in the, saving the world kind of way, but epic in a deeply personal, slightly embarrassing, ultimately triumphant kind of way. It's the story of the day I fixed a torn bag. Now, this wasn't just any bag. This was my favorite bag. Imagine, if you will, the perfect everyday bag. Not too big, not too small. Soft, worn in leather the color of dark chocolate, the good kind, with a hint of reddish undertones. It had a sturdy adjustable strap, just the right length to swing across my body, and the perfect number of pockets. One inside for my phone, one zipped for my wallet, and another, smaller one, where I kept lip balm and random treasures. A smooth gray stone I found on the beach. A tiny origami crane my niece made me. You get the picture. This bag was my constant companion. It held my life, essentially. And then, the tear. I discovered it one morning, reaching in for my keys. There it was, a jagged rip right along the bottom seam, maybe 2 inches long. My heart sank. It felt like a personal injury. I mean, this bag had been with me through thick and thin, through countless coffee spills and crammed grocery runs. It had even survived a particularly turbulent flight where a bottle of shampoo exploded in the overhead compartment. Don't even ask. And now, this. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I could just ignore it. Yeah, right. Like ignoring a gaping hole in your favorite sweater. It was just going to get worse. So, what's a girl to do? Buy a new bag? The thought crossed my mind, of course. But this wasn't just about practicality. It was about sentiment. This bag held memories. It had character. You know what I mean? New bags are all shiny and stiff. They lack that lived-in love. I decided to fix it. Now, I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, crafty. My sewing skills are, shall we say, rudimentary at best. I can sew a button, maybe patch a hole in a sock if I'm feeling ambitious. But repairing a leather bag? That was a whole different ballgame. My first stop was YouTube, naturally. I spent a good hour watching tutorials, feeling a mix of hope and overwhelming inadequacy. There were videos on saddle stitching, leather cement, patching techniques. It was a whole world I didn't even know existed. Armed with this newfound, and mostly theoretical, knowledge, I headed to the craft store. This place, oh my goodness. It was a wonderland of threads, needles, and tools I couldn't even name. I wandered the aisles, feeling like an archaeologist on a dig, unearthing strange and fascinating artifacts. Eventually, I managed to locate some leather needles, heavy-duty thread that looked vaguely like dental floss, and a small tube of leather glue. The cashier, a woman with bright purple hair and multiple piercings, gave me a knowing smile. Big project? She asked. I mumbled something about a bag and quickly escaped, feeling a blush creep up my cheeks. Back home, I spread out my supplies on the kitchen table. My little dog, a fluffy terrier mix named Pip, watched me with intense curiosity, occasionally sniffing at the leather needles. I took a deep breath and began. First, the glue. The instructions said to apply a thin layer to both edges of the tear. Easy peasy, right? Wrong. The glue was thicker than I expected, and it oozed out in globs. I tried to smooth it out with a toothpick, which promptly snapped in half. Pip, sensing my frustration, licked my hand sympathetically. Thanks, buddy, I muttered, grabbing another toothpick. After what felt like an eternity, the glue was, somewhat, evenly distributed. Now for the stitching. I threaded the needle, a surprisingly challenging task given the thickness of the thread, and took my first tentative stitch. It was crooked and wonky, and not at all what the YouTube videos had promised. I pulled it out and tried again. And again. And again. My fingers started to ache. Pip, bored with the whole affair, curled up at my feet and went to sleep. I won't lie, there were moments I almost gave up. I stared at the mangled mess of stitches and glue, feeling a wave of self-doubt wash over me. Why was I even bothering? It was just a bag. I could buy a new one. A much nicer one, probably. But then I remembered why I started. This wasn't just about the bag. It was about the challenge, the satisfaction of fixing something with my own hands. It was about refusing to let a little tear, a little setback, defeat me. So, I persevered. Slowly, painstakingly, I stitched the tear closed. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. But it was holding. I trimmed the excess thread, applied a bit more glue, this time with slightly more control, and sat back to admire my handiwork. It wasn't exactly a professional job. The stitches were uneven, the glue a little messy. But you know what? It had character. It told a story. It was a testament to my stubbornness, my patience, and my slightly obsessive need to fix things. And you know what else? I loved it. I loved the imperfections, the little bumps and ridges where the stitches were too tight, the slightly darker patch where the glue had seeped through. It was a badge of honor, a reminder that even the most mundane tasks can be an adventure, a source of pride, and a lesson in resilience. The next day, I wore my bag with a newfound appreciation. It felt different, somehow. Heavier, maybe. Not with the weight of things, but with the weight of the story it now held. And every time I reached for my keys, my fingers brushed against the slightly rough patch of repaired leather, and I smiled. It was a small victory, perhaps, but it was mine. And that, my friend, is the story of the day I fixed a torn bag. What do you think? Not bad for a non-crafty person, huh? Now, whose turn is it to tell a story? Hey everyone. Learning a new language can feel like a huge mountain to climb, but you know what? The real fun of learning begins when you step out of your comfort zone. Think about it. It's in those moments of, oops, did I say that? Right? That you truly grow. Embracing those little stumbles is what makes the journey exciting and rewarding. Trust me, the more you push yourself, the more confident you'll become. It's like unlocking a secret level in a video game, exhilarating and so satisfying. And you know what can help with that? Trying tongue twisters. It sounds silly, I know, but seriously, they're like mini workouts for your mouth. Imagine yourself cooking dinner and casually muttering, "She sells seashells by the seashore." Or maybe, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, while out on a walk. It's fun, easy to fit into your day, and it really does wonders for your pronunciation. You will not believe how quickly you'll start noticing improvements. Explaining your problems clearly can be a real challenge, right? I totally get it. You might understand perfectly what someone is saying in English, but when it's your turn to speak, it suddenly feels like all the words have vanished. Honestly, it's something we all experience. It can be frustrating, especially when you're trying to express something important, but remember you're not alone in this. Every learner goes through it. So, speaking of fun with language, I had this hilarious moment the other day where I accidentally used an idiom completely wrong, and it got me thinking. Which English idiom do you love? I'm so curious to hear what phrases resonate with you. Maybe it's, break the leg, or, once in a blue moon. Whatever it is, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and maybe even learn a few new ones myself. Okay, so, you are never going to believe what happened to me the other day. It all started with a calendar. A calendar. Sounds boring, right? Trust me, it wasn't. It was epic. Okay, maybe not epic in a saving the world kind of way, but epic in a my life is finally organized kind of way. You know what I mean? See, I'm not exactly known for my organizational skills. My brain is like a browser with a million tabs open, all buzzing and blinking at once. Appointments, birthdays, deadlines, they all sort of swim around in there, a chaotic soup of to-dos and should-haves. It's stressful. For years, I've relied on a chaotic mix of sticky notes, phone reminders, and the occasional frantic scribble on the back of a receipt. It wasn't pretty. My desk looked like a confetti explosion of brightly colored reminders, and my purse? Don't even get me started. It was a black hole of crumpled paper and forgotten intentions. So, there I was, last Tuesday, staring at this mountain of paper, literally a mountain, and I just snapped. Something inside me just said, enough. You know that feeling? Like you finally hit your limit? I marched myself down to the stationery store, that lovely little one on Elm Street, with the smell of fresh paper and ink that always makes me feel oddly peaceful, and I bought myself a calendar. Not just any calendar, mind you. This was a serious calendar. A big, beautiful, desk calendar with a week-to-view layout. Plenty of space for notes. And, get this, stickers. Little colorful stickers for appointments, birthdays, deadlines, everything. I felt like a kid in a candy store. I carried it home, this pristine symbol of order and control, cradling it like a newborn baby. I cleared a space on my desk, wiping away the dust and stray glitter, don't ask, and placed the calendar in the center, like a majestic centerpiece. I even lit a candle, one of those vanilla-scented ones, just to set the mood. This wasn't just setting up a calendar, this was a ceremony. Now, here's where things got interesting. I opened the calendar to the current month, ready to transfer all those chaotic scribbles and reminders into their rightful place. And I froze. You see, I had no idea where to start. Years of disorganized chaos had left me with no real system, no coherent record of my commitments. I had sticky notes for things that had already happened, reminders on my phone for appointments I'd completely forgotten about, and a vague sense of impending doom. I sat there for a moment, staring at the blank pages of the calendar, feeling utterly overwhelmed. The vanilla candle, meant to inspire calm, suddenly felt mocking. Had I bitten off more than I could chew? Was I destined to live in a perpetual state of disarray? Then, I took a deep breath. And another. I decided to start small. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my calendar app, which, let's be honest, I rarely used, and started transferring appointments. Doctor's appointment? Check. Lunch with Sarah? Check. Dentist appointment? Oh no. That was last week. Oops. Slowly but surely, I started piecing together the puzzle of my life. I sifted through the mountain of sticky notes, deciphering cryptic messages and faded ink. I unearthed forgotten birthdays, overdue library books, and a reminder to buy cat food that was probably 6 months old. My cat, by the way, was giving me a very judgmental look. It was a long process, filled with little surprises, forgotten commitments, and the occasional groan of frustration. But as I filled in the squares of the calendar, a strange sense of calm started to wash over me. It was like I was finally bringing order to the chaos, taming the wild beast of my schedule. And then, it happened. I discovered a clash. A big one. I had double-booked myself. A work meeting and a friend's birthday dinner, both on the same night. I stared at the calendar, my heart sinking. How could I have let this happen? But then, something amazing happened. Because I had the calendar, because I could see the conflict, I was able to fix it. I called my friend, explained the situation, and we rescheduled the dinner. Just like that. No frantic last-minute texts, no awkward apologies. Just a simple, calm solution. It was a revelation. The calendar wasn't just a place to record my schedule, it was a tool for managing my life. It gave me the power to see the big picture, to anticipate conflicts, to make informed decisions. It was empowering. I spent the rest of the afternoon decorating the calendar with colorful stickers, assigning a different color to each category of event. Work meetings were blue, social events were pink, deadlines were green. My calendar transformed into a vibrant tapestry of my life, a visual representation of my hopes, plans, and commitments. And the best part? The stickers. Oh, the stickers. I know it sounds silly, but those little stickers brought me so much joy. Sticking a bright pink sticker on a friend's birthday felt like a mini celebration. Placing a green sticker on a completed deadline felt like a small victory. It was ridiculous, I know, but it made me happy. When I finally finished, I sat back and admired my handiwork. My desk was clear, my schedule was organized, and my mind felt quiet. It was a strange, unfamiliar feeling, like the silence after a storm. The buzzing, blinking tabs in my brain had finally closed. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The weight of forgotten appointments and looming deadlines had lifted. I woke up feeling refreshed, energized, and ready to face the day. And guess what? I didn't forget a single thing. Not one. So, yeah, it was just a calendar. But it was more than that. It was a symbol of a new beginning, a promise to myself to be more organized, more in control. It was a small step towards a less chaotic, more intentional life. And you know what? I'm pretty proud of myself. It's the little things, right? The little victories. They make all the difference. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go buy more stickers to my calendar. You know, just in case. Winking face. So, you want to hear a story about making masala chai in winter? Oh, honey, do I have a story for you. It's not just about making tea, you see. It's about a whole feeling, a ritual, a warm hug from the inside out. Especially when the world outside is trying its best to turn you into an icicle. This particular story takes place a few years ago, during the coldest winter I can remember. The kind where just breathing outside felt like inhaling tiny shards of glass. I was living in this tiny little cottage nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas. Picture this. Snow-dusted peaks piercing the crisp blue sky, the air so clear you could practically taste it, and silence, so much silence, broken only by the occasional crunch of snow underfoot. It was beautiful, breathtaking even, but oh so cold. The kind of cold that settled deep in your bones and refused to leave. The cottage itself was charming, all rustic wood and stone, with a huge fireplace that was the heart and soul of the place. But, honestly, even with the fire roaring, the chill still lingered. You know that feeling, right? Like no matter how many layers you wear, you still can't quite shake off the cold? That particular day, I was working from home. My fingers were practically numb from typing, my nose was icy, and my concentration had flown the coop hours ago. I glanced out the window, at the swirling snowflakes and the frosted branches of the pine trees, and I knew, just knew, I needed something to warm me from the inside out. A cup of hot chocolate? Nice. A bowl of soup? Warmer. But what I really craved was a steaming mug of masala chai. Now, making masala chai isn't just about boiling water and dumping in a tea bag. Oh no, my friend. It's an art. It's a process. It's a love affair in a mug. And in those cold Himalayan winters, it was practically a survival tactic. I rummaged through my pantry, pulling out the essential ingredients. Fresh ginger, a knobbly, earthy root that smelled of sunshine and spice. Cardamom pods, their delicate green shells holding the promise of warmth and fragrance. Cinnamon sticks, their bark curling like ancient scrolls, whispering stories of faraway lands. Cloves, tiny but mighty, their pungent aroma filling the air. Black peppercorns, adding a hint of bite to the sweetness. And of course, the star of the show, good quality black tea leaves, dark and fragrant, ready to unfurl their magic. I filled a small saucepan with water and placed it on the stove, the flame flickering blue against the copper bottom. While the water heated, I started prepping the spices. I peeled the ginger, the skin coming away easily, revealing the vibrant flesh beneath. I sliced it into thin slivers, the sharp, clean scent filling the kitchen. Then, I lightly crushed the cardamom pods, releasing their intoxicating aroma. The cinnamon sticks I snapped in half, their woody fragrance mingling with the ginger and cardamom. The water began to simmer, tiny bubbles rising to the surface. I tossed in the ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and a pinch of black peppercorns. The kitchen instantly transformed into a fragrant haven, the spices infusing the air with their warm, comforting embrace. I closed my eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, letting the aroma wash over me. Ah, bliss. Now, here's where I made a little mistake. You see, I was so lost in the sensory experience, so caught up in the moment, that I completely forgot to add the sugar. It wasn't until I had poured the spiced water over the tea leaves, letting it steep for a good 5 minutes, that I realized my oversight. I took a tentative sip, and, yikes. It was strong, spicy, and decidedly unsweetened. I chuckled at myself, a little frustrated but mostly amused by my own absent-mindedness. It's those little imperfections, those little blunders, that make life interesting, don't you think? So, I added a spoonful of sugar to my mug, stirred it in, and took another sip. This time, it was perfect. The spices danced on my tongue, the sweetness balanced the bite, and the warmth spread through me like sunshine after a long winter night. I curled up on the couch, wrapped in a thick blanket, my mug cradled in my hands. The snow continued to fall outside, the wind howled around the cottage, but inside, I was warm, cozy, and content. The masala chai had worked its magic. It wasn't just a drink, it was a feeling. A feeling of comfort, of peace, of being home. You know, it's funny how something as simple as a cup of tea can have such a profound effect. It's not just about the taste, or the warmth, it's about the whole experience. The ritual of making it, the anticipation of that first sip, the feeling of being enveloped in its comforting embrace. It's a reminder to slow down, to savor the small moments, to appreciate the simple pleasures in life. That particular cup of masala chai, made on that cold winter day, is etched in my memory. It's a reminder of the power of small rituals, the importance of self-care, and the magic of finding comfort in the simplest of things. Even now, years later, whenever I make masala chai, especially in winter, I'm transported back to that cozy cottage, the snow falling outside, and the feeling of warmth spreading through me, one sip at a time. And you know what? Sometimes, I even forget the sugar on purpose, just to recreate that initial jolt, that slightly bitter, intensely spicy first sip, followed by the sweet relief of adding the sugar. It's a little reminder of that quiet, snowy day, and the unexpected joy of a perfectly imperfect cup of chai. It's a little inside joke, a little wink to my past self, a reminder that even mistakes can be savored, especially when they lead to something so warm and comforting. So, the next time you're feeling chilled to the bone, brew yourself a cup of masala chai. Take your time, savor the process, and let the warmth envelop you. You might just find yourself transported to your own little haven, a place of comfort and peace, right in the middle of a cold winter's day. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching and for staying with me throughout this video. I really appreciate you connecting with me here. You know, before we go, I was just thinking, are you planning to meet someone special soon? It's always so lovely to hear what everyone is thinking about, and sharing your plans in the comments is a wonderful way to practice expressing yourself in English and connect with others who might be doing similar things. It would be great to hear from you. See you tomorrow, and in the meantime, please take care and remember to keep practicing. Have a wonderful day.